Good morning, Thrivals. You know what? I think that's just not quite good enough. I think it's a great morning, Thrivals. Great morning? Woo! Well, I am so inspired by the last speaker. I was at Thrivals last year. It was my first one, and I didn't know how people were going to top it, but already I think they have. And we are just ready to get going with more excitement on our next fabulous speaker. I'm about to introduce you to somebody with a very impressive resume. He is a musician, an entrepreneur, a campaign manager for Senators Elizabeth Warren and Ed Markey, and is campaigner for them, and a campaign manager for Joyce Gerber of Cambridge, Massachusetts, who's running for office right now. But here's something that you may not know. He's also a 6th grader. He's somebody who knows that starting young is the key to success, and he is here to tell us about his quest to persuade. So can we get a nice, rousing Thrivals welcome for Mr. Zev Dickstein.
Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for coming. So, has anyone here ever loved and relished and appreciated the amazingly and extraordinarily healthy elementary school food? Raise your hand if you did. All right, we have just a few people. So I didn't either. And it was in 4th grade when I was talking with a group of friends, and we were making fun of the school food. And I noticed that I wasn't the only one who noticed the food not being so good. So I did some research, and I found that it was pretty bad. Had a lot of bad chemicals and preservatives, as well as a lot of sugar, and that there wasn't equal access to healthy food at this urban public school because 46% of the students, that's 220 students in my school, were on free or reduced lunch, which meant they couldn't afford to bring their own lunch, and they couldn't afford to pay the full price for school lunch. So they were stuck buying with this school lunch. And I felt bad for them. So I created a petition advocating for healthier food. And after consulting some school council members and a school committee member, we decided on a salad bar, an idea that was specific and had successful precedents to cite. And I went around the cafeteria with a pen and a paper, and I told people why I wanted the salad bar and why they would want it too. And I got about 200 signatures. I made sure to get representation from all areas of the school. I got a signature from the principal, members of the school council, a student in every grade, a cafeteria worker, and many others. And then I went before the Cambridge School Committee to present my petition. And they voted unanimously for a salad bar. Thank you. And it was referred to the superintendent, and then I was in contact with the head of the food service to discuss how it would be implemented. And that's how becoming an activist in my community started for me. Now, when you do one of these great things for your community, you get to see people using it. Last year and this year, I get to see people using the salad bar and eating healthy food. And I noticed the only things that people weren't eating were the hot dogs, not the salad. Now, that's a picture of me with the salad bar. They had to take the picture when not many people were using it because it was too busy. And I So I was hearing a lot of political things on the radio since as far back as I can remember, my mom would often turn on NPR in the car. And I started loving it, and in fact, instead of her turning it on, I would ask her to turn it on. And I heard about Elizabeth Warren. She was running for Senate to represent Massachusetts against an incumbent in 2012. Whoops. Yeah, and so that was the first campaign I was significantly involved in. But there was a harbinger to my fervor for campaigning. And I was 6 years old, and I insisted on making that sign myself for Obama. In fact, when I went down the street to hold it up, I needed reassurance and encouragement. Now, I never expected when I signed up to volunteer for the summer of 2012 for Warren that I would be here today speaking to you. And during that first campaign, I made a lot of friends. Those friends have helped me ever since my work for Elizabeth Warren. And I became part of many organizations, such as the Cambridge Democratic City Committee, many others. And I showed up. And showing up is the most important thing, because people started to recognize me. They asked me questions or for advice, such as where to hold signs, when to canvass, which is knocking on doors, or when to do a visibility, which is, that's canvassing, and this is holding signs. The newer version of holding signs. And so I did about 32 canvasses for Warren, and I hosted about 42 canvasses for Warren. And canvassing is where you knock on a certain list of doors in a neighborhood, and people come together. Each turf is about 70 doors in the neighborhood, and they're selected doors, they're special doors. The voters behind the doors are likely to vote for your candidate. Maybe they voted in all the previous elections, or maybe they're of a certain age group. Now, another thing I did was phone banking. I made thousands of phone calls. And phone calling is where you call certain voters, and they can be in different neighborhoods because you're not walking to their houses. And phone banking is a lot less, it's not as good as canvassing because most people think you're an automated call, a solicitor, a prank call, or anything else, and they usually hang up on you. So if you're going to do something for your community, knocking on doors is the thing to do. Now, I learned a lot of things. I learned about GOTV, which is Get Out the Vote. It's the 3 or 4 days before the election where you knock on all the doors you previously have knocked on in all the previous month. So it's really stressful. And that's why it's part of Practice GOTV, which is a practice for the real GOTV, so you can figure out what things are going well and what things you need to improve, so that when the real GOTV came, it was nice and smooth. And I trained volunteers. I told them, how to canvass, how to phone bank, and things like that. And when election day came, I did about 4 canvasses. I made phone calls. I held signs. And I even got to meet Elizabeth Warren as she was going to vote. Now, the next campaign I was involved in, which was Ed Markey's campaign, he was running for Senate in a special election to represent Massachusetts because John Kerry had become Secretary of State. But this time I got involved early enough to learn and collect signatures so that he could get on the ballot. And just as I did for Elizabeth Warren, I led weekly canvasses for Ed Markey. But I never expected at one of these weekly canvasses to be asked to be someone's campaign manager. That wasn't even in my wildest dreams. But it was one weekly canvas in Cambridge, Massachusetts, where Joyce Gerber came to the canvas. And I had known she had ran for Cambridge School Committee 2 years ago, but I wasn't sure if she was running again. So I asked, and she said yes. And we were talking about data and strategy and things like that. And she asked me to be her campaign manager. I thought she was kidding. I thought to myself, yeah, she just wants me to volunteer or something like that. But she asked to speak with my parents, and it was real. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, yeah, he's the campaign manager, yeah, he volunteered, but what does he do? So, here are some things I do for Joyce. I create voter lists. These are lists of targeted voters in the area that are likely to vote in the election and may even vote for Joyce. I do strategy, yes. I look at different candidates, see which ones they're going to win, and see which ones we could have a chance against. I call volunteers to see if they could come and help us out sometime. I create the campaign literature, and you might think it's just a bunch of words. Well, if you think that, you're right. Except there's more to it. You have to figure out what issues people are interested in and what colors look good. And subsequently, other candidates for Cambridge elections also asked me to help them with their campaigns. But I was already committed to Joyce. Now, you may be thinking, yeah, I could never do such a thing. Well, that's not true. The most important thing is showing up. I showed up to events, and people recognized me. And they asked me to do things like be Joyce's campaign manager. And doing these great and fun things also gives you many awesome opportunities. In fact, one woman noticed me working so hard for Ed Markey that she got me tickets to meet a man in a white shirt. Oh, wait, hold on. There it is. A man in a white shirt. Yep. I got to give him my business card. And when I met him, his hands were soft and sweaty. Now, doing these great and fun things, you actually get to know your candidates. Michelle Obama, Ed Markey, and Elizabeth Warren all sent me personal birthday cards. And I got to be featured on NPR. Whoops. NPR. And in many newspapers. In fact, I even got to speak at an Ed Markey office opening event. And I got special permission to be a delegate at the Massachusetts Democratic Convention, and now speak to an audience of, well, however many people there are out there. And you may be wondering how I knew all these things. Well, one of the things that helped me was public radio. I listened to it every morning, and it helped me. It informed me on the issues, so if I was in the campaign office, or if I was talking to voters, I would know what to say when they asked me a question about the issues. And I read history books. And I encourage you to get some of them that are out in the bookstore. They're really good. Since second grade. In fact, they're the big ones. They give me background information on elections, things like that. And this is American history books. Now let me go over some common excuses of why you couldn't do anything in your community or in politics. Zev, I can't do anything because I'm not outgoing. That's no reason. Of course you can. Non-outgoing people do great things in politics. I've seen my friends and family. They do things like data, strategy, create voter lists, do campaign literature, hold signs, and many other things I'm not going to mention because I don't have time. I'm not saying if you are outgoing and you like to talk, you're going to do badly. But if you're not, you'll be just fine. Now recently, last year they did restructuring of the schools I go at, the whole district that I go to. And I went in a classroom that wasn't supposed to be a classroom. It was around 90 to 110 degrees every day. Yeah. And this is where I was going to end the speech, but I wanted to show you something that I did to make a difference in my community. So I created a petition, and everyone in my class favored it, and I gave it to the principal, and I haven't heard a response yet. This was last year. And so this year, there's still kids in the classroom. Luckily, I'm in a classroom that's much cooler, but there are still kids in this classroom. And so there were some parents of those kids trying to take action. And they had known, I created a petition last year for a cooler classroom, and they were going to speak in front of the Cambridge City Council. So they asked me if I would help them out and speak in front of the Cambridge City Council. And I was honored. I did, and I even got on the front page of the newspaper for it. That's the convention, and that's me speaking in front of the City Council. Now I'm coming to a closing now, but I want to leave this with you. You can do whatever you want to do. Care about something. Get involved. Get informed. Remember, it's not very hard to get involved in your communities. You can show up. It's tons of fun. You get great experiences, and you can make a difference. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
What a dynamo. We are so glad to have you here in Louisville.
Thank you.
And we heard that you have a little bit of a Louisville connection.
Yes.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Can you tell us about it?
My dad grew up in Louisville. And it's a great city. I've been here about 7 years ago, and so you guys are great.
Wonderful. All right, so you told us you listen to NPR, and you
Yes.
told us that you like to read history
Yes.
books. But how did you learn about political strategy?
That's a good question. I think the experience from volunteering on many campaigns helped me a lot. And I've actually read some political strategy books. And so that helped me. But the real life experience is the most important thing. When I volunteered on many campaigns, I would say that's really what helped me.
Okay, great. And we are going to be opening this up, so if anybody else has questions, come down to the microphone, but I have another question that I would like to ask you. All right, picture the year 2040.
Okay,
I
that's a
know-
long way away.
It's a long way away, but you know what the year 2040 is going to be? The first year you're going to be eligible to be on the
Vote.
presidential
Oh.
ballot. So where do you see yourself in 2040?
Well, it is a long way away, but who knows? Maybe.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, we have a question up here in the audience. Can you tell us
Sure.
your name and ask us your question?
Hello, my name is Chase Guttermuth. I'm a student at Dixie Heights High School in Kenton County. I just want to know, you're in 6th grade. How can you be comfortable up there? I'm a junior and I can barely talk in front of my class.
It's a good question. I think practice, if you want to speak in front of the audience like this, I practiced a lot. I mean, it kind of came naturally a little bit. I needed a lot of help though. And I think once you do it once, you can do it more than once. And you can speak in front of your class and speak in front of an audience like this. So I would say a lot of people helped me, and that's how I do it, I guess.
Over here, please.
Hello, my name is Gray Thurstone. I'm a senior at St. Francis High School. Yeah. I was just wondering, I'm a senior and I have trouble balancing my life with going to school. So I was wondering how you balanced your life, politically and
Right.
with your job
Right.
on,
Now, that's a good question.
and, being in 6th grade. So,
You have a lot more homework than me.
well, it's true.
I really needed help not dawdling. When I try to find time at school where maybe I can slip in a little bit of homework when it's not a learning time. And when I come home, I finish my homework. I do my instrument violin, because in the morning I've already done my piano. I see some friends, and then I help my candidate. So it takes a lot. It took practice. It took help, but you can get it down.
Thank you. That's very impressive.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Evan O'Leary, and I'm a senior at Collegiate, and I was wondering if you had any interest in running for any particular office someday, and if so, what issues were most important to you?
That's a very good question. I may run for maybe state representative and then maybe Senate. I don't know, but I guess I would say making sure that everyone has a fair chance at whatever they want to do, protecting middle-class families and lower middle-class families and everyone, and I guess I'd have to think about that more, but I would say those are the main issues. I want everyone to have a fair chance at things.
Hey, my name is Umar. I'm from Seneca. Now, I believe that great things have small beginnings. And you, my friend, I say hats off to what you're doing. And lastly, when are you running for office? You got my vote, buddy. Run for office.
Thank you. Thank you.
I know you said that you were obviously interested in going into politics when you're older, but have you ever thought of like going to another job or starting an organization or a business or doing anything like that, or doing something with your music?
That's a very good question. Yes, I have. So I can't say for sure I want to do something in politics. And I really want to help people, maybe a teacher, maybe starting an organization, as you said. So I'm not sure yet, but I definitely want to help people in whatever I do. Thank you.
I'm from St. Francis and Goshen, and how many extracurricular activities are you a part of?
All right, so that's a good question. So I would say my violin, my piano, my political stuff. I love to do math. And I love to read, but I guess that's what it is. I say.
Over on this side, please.
My name is Billy. I'm from Dixie Heights High School. What's the hardest part about your job or what you do?
I think finding the time. Time, I would say, is the hardest thing. You have to, and also having someone available to help me when I canvass, because I can't go alone. I need a chaperone. So I would say that is the hardest part of my job.
Over here, please.
My name is Justin, and I go to Moore. Outside politics, is it hard to have a outside life socially and stuff like that?
My friends, they're probably gonna watch this. They like it. They're interested. I see them quite a bit, probably not as much as you do, but yeah. No, it's not that hard.
Hi, I'm Brittany Majors. I'm a senior at Central. I just want to know, you're in the 6th grade. You could be out playing, having fun. Is this what you really thought you'd be doing at the age of like 11 or 10?
The answer is no, but the answer is I love doing this. So it is what I want to do.
Okay, Zev,
I answered them all.
I have a pretty serious question for you. We have a lot of future leaders out there in that audience.
Yes, we do.
We have future class presidents,
Yes.
city council members, Kenton County commissioners,
yes.
maybe even the future mayor of Louisville.
That'd be great if one of you were.
But here's the question. What advice do you have for them for their next campaign?
So if you're going to do this, work hard. Really work hard. Get into it. Knock on a lot of doors. Talk to people. Talk to your neighbors. Talk to your friends. Get them to help you out. And I would say that's the basic. You really have to meet a lot of people, tell them about the election, and make sure they vote for you. And And I encourage you all to run for mayor, or something bigger or something smaller.
Okay, well, maybe you've heard a lot of adults say this. They say, if I only knew then what I know now, I would do something differently, or I'd be smarter or wiser in a decision that I made. But I think that there's lots of kids who have a lot of great insights and a lot of courage and spunk. So if you could flip that around and tell your grown-up self, if I only remembered now what I knew then, what do you want your grown-up self to know?
Well, I want my grown-up self to know that never to say anything negative about someone. It's a bad thing to do. I want my grown-up self to know that always making jokes, have a good sense of humor, and work hard. So I think that's what it would be.
It has been such a pleasure to have you here,
Thank you.
and I hope you enjoy the rest of your time in Louisville
I
with your
will.
family. And again, can we give Zev Dickstein a rousing round of applause?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.